Single dad mechanic sees a blind woman left alone at night. He never expected she was an undercover female cop the night he saw her sitting alone at the empty roadside stop, a thin white cane resting against her knee and a black blindfold covering her eyes. Something inside him refused to let him drive away. The highway lights flickered like tired stars, and trucks roared past without slowing down. She looked small against the endless stretch of asphalt, dressed in a simple green dress, her hair falling softly over her shoulders, unaware of the danger rushing by only feet away. Daniel, a grease-stained mechanic and a single father of a 6-year-old boy, felt his chest tighten. He knew what it meant to be alone in the dark with no one stopping to care. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of doing the right thing even when no one is watching, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Grandma Dearie. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Daniel had just finished a double shift at the garage. His hands were cracked from engine oil and winter air, his back aching from lifting transmissions all day. Since his wife passed away 3 years ago, every night felt longer than the last. He worked extra hours to pay rent, school fees, and the small medical bills that always seemed to appear out of nowhere. His son, Ethan, was his only light, but even love couldn't erase exhaustion. He was driving home, thinking about whether there was enough milk left for breakfast, when he noticed the figure on the bench. Most drivers would have assumed someone else would help, but Daniel remembered the night his own car had broken down after his wife's funeral, how he had stood helpless with a crying toddler in his arms while vehicles sped by. No one stopped then. He promised himself he would never be that kind of person. He pulled over, heart pounding slightly as he stepped out. The air smelled of rain and gasoline. Up close, he could see her grip tighten around the cane as she sensed someone approaching. She sat straight, composed, but there was tension in her shoulders. Daniel kept his distance at first, speaking gently, telling her he was just a mechanic passing by, asking if she needed help. She explained she was waiting for a ride that never came. Her voice was calm, almost too calm for someone stranded at night. Daniel scanned the road nervously. A silver SUV had slowed earlier and then continued driving. The memory unsettled him. The highway at night was no place for anyone alone, especially someone who couldn't see the headlights racing toward her. He offered to call someone, but her phone battery had died. For a moment, doubt crept in. What if she thought he had bad intentions? In a world where trust was fragile, a man approaching a blind woman at night could easily be misunderstood. But walking away felt worse. He decided to sit a few feet away on the bench, not too close, just enough so she would know someone was there. He spoke about his son, about how Ethan insisted on putting ketchup on everything, even pancakes. He talked about engines and how they made sense to him because broken things could be fixed if you understood them. The woman listened quietly. The tension in her shoulders eased slightly. Minutes stretched into nearly half an hour. Daniel checked the road repeatedly. Finally, he made a decision that could complicate everything. He offered to drive her to the nearest police station or a well-lit diner instead of taking her somewhere private. He wanted her to feel safe. She hesitated, then nodded. As they drove, Daniel kept both hands firmly on the wheel, speaking only when necessary, careful not to startle her. Inside, fear battled with compassion. If anyone saw them, would they assume something terrible? Would he regret stopping? Yet every time he glanced at her still figure, he felt certain he had done the right thing. What he didn't know was that this wasn't an ordinary situation. 2 patrol cars suddenly appeared behind him, sirens flashing but silent. His stomach dropped. He slowly pulled over, panic flooding his veins. Had someone reported him? Was he about to be accused of something he didn't do? His mind raced to Ethan sleeping at home with the neighbor babysitting. The thought of being taken away, even temporarily, terrified him more than anything. Officers approached cautiously. Daniel stepped out with shaking hands, explaining everything before they could even ask. He spoke too fast, words tumbling over each other, desperate to prove he meant no harm. Then something unexpected happened. The blindfolded woman calmly removed the cloth from her eyes and stepped out of the car with steady confidence. She wasn't blind. She wasn't helpless. She was an undercover police officer running a late-night operation targeting drivers who preyed on vulnerable people. Several complaints had been filed about women disappearing from that stretch of highway. She had volunteered to pose as a stranded blind woman to see who would stop and what they would do. Daniel felt the ground shift beneath him. Embarrassment, relief, anger, and disbelief crashed together inside his chest. He thought of the silver SUV that had slowed earlier and driven off. He thought of how close he had come to simply continuing home. The lead officer explained that Daniel had done everything right. He kept distance, offered public safe locations, maintained respectful conversation, and showed genuine concern without crossing boundaries. The cameras hidden nearby had captured it all. In fact, his behavior stood in sharp contrast to others they had encountered in previous nights. The undercover officer looked at him differently now, not as a subject, but as a human being. She told him that kindness like his was rare in situations like this.